just a chance for us to chat, talk some Gators, college football in general if you want to, and go anywhere with this. Everybody, thanks for all the listens since game week. Gators Breakdown. Woo, man, tell you, you guys bringing it. Thank you so much. All the listens, interactions out there. I can tell Gator Nation's excited. But Kentucky preview episode is up. If you want to go even more in depth in looking at the Wildcats, Kevin McGuffey from Last Word on College Football joined me there to preview Kentucky as he does every year. I think I've had him on almost since we started doing opponent previews like that. So good look at Kentucky, all the questions surrounding that program with who's playing, who's not playing. Good look there at who they return, who they've lost off of last year's team as well. So really good. It went longer than I thought, about an hour-long preview there of Kentucky. So do like Florida in the matchup. You want the specific score. Shameless plug. Go listen to the episode. But yeah, hop in if you want to talk. If you got any certain topics you want to hit. I mean, it's definitely has been a series, of course, lately. It's been a thorn in Florida's side. And I've always kind of said it like this. If Florida is Florida, yes, Kentucky is improved. Yes, their program is much better than what it was. But if Florida is Florida, that's still a game you don't lose. Joaquin. Hope I said that right.
Yeah, it's Joaquin.
All right, there we go. Hey, man, how are you?
Doing well, man. Hey, I was listening to your podcast, man. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate that. Quickly, I was rewatching that Utah game, and I got to tell you, man, I really think our D-line did some really good things. I think they got through the line multiple times, and I think towards the fourth quarter, they were holding it down. I like us a lot against this Kentucky O-line.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you brought that up. When you do go back and look at it, you realize what Utah was doing, and it was they'd come out jumbo set. They were they were playing jumbo set just no matter where they were at on the field. They were lining up 3 tight ends, extra offensive linemen, playing jumbo set, and Florida never really adjusted. It looks like they had a plan going in of this is what we're going to be on defense, and I think Utah may have surprised them a little bit with what they came out and looked like on offense, and what how they would line up on offense in the second half. And even with that, as you said, you still saw some guys shoot the gaps, get in the backfield. They were just outnumbered, and when it come down to it, and we'll see what that looks like this week. I do think, like I said, Utah probably caught them off guard just a little bit with that. Even with a little bit of tempo, Utah doesn't run a whole lot of tempo, did that as well. But look, that's what you expect in kind of a first game because Utah's prepared all offseason for that game. So there are going to be wrinkles that you just did not prepare for. It happens in college football. Now, you like to see maybe some in-game adjustments, but, and I kind of said this on the Kentucky pod too, how much base is Florida working with? How much can they actually adjust? How much can they actually install while everybody's still learning? Coaches are still learning the players are still learning the coaches, and you're still trying to install a system and all that at the same time. So, yeah, second half, Utah comes out with some different looks. Florida didn't really necessarily adjust on defense too much, but as going to your point, Joaquin, you could see still some highlights of some guys getting in the backfield. All right, let's see, Parker. Oh, wrong button. Here we go. What's up, Parker? Thank you.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, so one thing that I noticed about Richardson and the first game, especially under Napier, versus last season. He looked a lot more like he was trying to make the hero play every single play. I saw, maybe it was just Butt Crack Sports or whatever, but there were some quotes coming out from Kentucky talking about how they were already game planning for him and stuff like that. But based off of last year, it doesn't really look like you can. I mean, as far as it seemed like Billy had a plan for him, and the only time that he made a hero play was when the play completely broke down. Versus last year, it seemed like he was just trying to do that when the ball was snapped. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, if you saw a big difference between now versus last year, but just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely look more calm and collected. I think he did come out pretty amped to begin with. But look, I mean, he's confident. And I think a lot of confidence comes in the reps and him being the quarterback. But, last year, I remember him even saying at one point, and I think it was in a press conference, but it could have been somewhere else as well, where, he said with his limited opportunities and chances last year, he felt like he had to go make a play every time. And I mean, you get that at some point. He wants to be out there on the field. He was proving time and time again that he deserved more playing time. And I guess, at times felt like he had to do even more to maybe get that, Dan Mullen just, flip that switch and finally put him out there a bit more. But yeah, there was not a lot of hero ball. Even when you said, the play, when there was hero ball, it was needed. It wasn't forced. It was, I need to go make a play. I need to break this tackle. The ball needs to be in my hands. And he went and made the plays. And that's what he brings. You in Kentucky can game plan all they want to for that. When you have a special player, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's just the simplification of it. If you have that special of a player, and look, that's what's going to happen. He's on everybody's radar right now. But you can best bet Utah game plan for him at the same time. They knew just based off of last year the potential there, and they're good coaches. And now could AR maybe have surprised him a little bit? Absolutely. There was not a ton of tape on him, but you can best bet they game plan for him. And we'll see. I mean, Kentucky has done a good job on defense the last few seasons. Brad White there, the defensive coordinator, has done a pretty good job versus Florida, but a lot of that's just, Florida, for one, sticking with Felipe Franks, and then, the injury happens in that game. Kyle Trask comes in, saves the day. 2020, I mean, it wasn't Florida. Florida lit that defense up. A lot of defenses up. So, and then we all remember last year and Emory Jones struggles. But that was the first struggle for this Florida offense. Florida was able to pass the ball. Florida was able to run the ball with a good bit of success in those first few games. We saw Emory struggles in those weaker opponents the first couple of weeks. But then Alabama came, Tennessee came, and he played okay. And then you go to the Kentucky game, and Kentucky completely took away everything that Emory Jones was able to do successfully versus Alabama and successfully versus Tennessee. And a lot of that was on the ground. A lot of that was him running. Do they have a similar game plan this week versus Anthony Richardson? They can try. And we'll see, do they try and play more outside a bit to contain him? Do they try and play more outside a bit to, stop those bootlegs and the flood concepts, but behind those or, in front of those bootlegs, we'll see. They're going to try and keep him in the pocket. But at the same time, if that happens, I think Florida's run game can kind of step up. So if they want to focus on the outside and focus on keeping Anthony Richardson in the pocket, there could be some big runs happening for this Florida run game.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing I just saw. I mean, he was just getting the ball out quicker. I mean, even on those bootlegs, I mean, I remember on like the level 2 Shorter was coming around. Shorter was wide open, but I think he hit Montrell without hesitation, which like last year he would have thought about that. He might have even tried to hit Shorter for the extra yardage, but no, he saw it, he hit it. And that, I don't know. It's just, versus Kentucky and stuff like that, even if they try to come down on that, then maybe the plays over the top are available. So just excited to see where he grows this year as he gains more confidence and as Billy gets to know him a little bit better.
Yeah, me too. And I think this week would be pretty indicative of what we can, maybe the growth. Week 1 to week 2, of course, you expect growth in your own right, but you are going against, as I said, a pretty good defense, one that probably has been able to game plan for Florida all offseason as well. And they're not too worried about Miami of Ohio. So did that play into Kentucky's performance last week? But at the same time, that's just football right now. You got analysts who take on roles during the offseason and prepare for opponents all offseason. But at the same time, this was an early season opponent. Kentucky not all too worried. Now they got some film on AR from last week they can apply to all their summer knowledge that they've put on there. So this would be a really good test. Kentucky will be a good defense this year. They'll always be a good defense. So now we'll see what happens when a team can game plan for Anthony Richardson. Still a little bit of limited film. There's no kitchen sink Florida emptied versus Utah. There was a certain set of game plan. I think we saw that game plan come to fruition. Florida run the ball a lot, and they were going to run the ball a lot, but also the game itself dictated it. Especially that last drive, Florida was going to run the ball. Florida wanted to run the clock out. Florida was going to run the ball. That was the best way to do it. So maybe even the run stats even more slanted just kind of because of that. That last drive where Florida really needed to bleed the clock before they scored that final touchdown. So we'll see. The game dictates stats a bit, but this is going to be run team first. AR will have some help there, but I am eager to see how much improvement that he can make week 1 to week 2, and just how much more the offense grows week 1 to week 2. How much more can they handle? All right, let's see. I think Link was in here.
Yeah, hello, Dave.
Hey, man.
I was listening to some things, and Kentucky doesn't seem too confident in their secondary this year. It's still probably decent, but not as good as previous years. And they said they wanted to probably play a zone, try to keep all eyes on AR, and try to contain Russian. But the problem with that is one defensive end isn't going to be able to contain him always consistently. So I think to Kentucky to win this game, they're going to have to get some pretty good pass rush, but that's like U.S. strength on O-line. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida's run game is going to be their best friend again. I think in helping slow down a rush there. I like Florida's offensive line as well. I thought they did overall a pretty good job of pass protection last week. At the same time, the running backs had some nice blocks and helping out with the offensive line. I am eager to see how Kentucky approaches this. A zone defense is kind of what they've been known for. Cover 3. You can light that up there. AR's been pretty good in throwing against some zone defenses in his career. Kyle Trask lit up that defense in some ways as well. So, we'll see how, does Kentucky change an approach? I am eager to see, I don't watch Kentucky a whole lot, of course, every year when they play Florida. And if another game comes up where we're trying to watch them. But I like the matchup Florida has now, just because I think there's a lot of expectation of them being able to run the ball and behind an offensive line, and what they showed last week in pass blocking as well. I just think it sets up pretty well for Florida and what they want to do against most teams. And we'll see. There's still a lot of, we're early in the season, so we'll have to see adjustments on Florida side and the opponent side. So, while there is excitement, this last season started out with a big successful run game that as the season wore on, teams started to figure out. But, a lot of that was because Florida was limited at quarterback. And I don't think that limitation so much there this year where, if they want to focus on stopping the Florida run game with it, run the running backs, okay, well, then you got a quarterback to worry about, his legs, his arm. I don't think that worry was necessarily there last year. And if you want to focus on trying to stop him, which is, kind of where we're going in some of the comments of trying to maybe play a little safe and not give up the big play to Anthony Richardson, that's where I really think Florida's run game and those running backs can really come into play for some big chunk yardage. So I like the matchup until I see somebody prove they can stop AR, and then if they do, they can stop the Florida run game at the same time. I think there's a nice balancing act with this Florida attack, and I'm eager to see too. I'm not sure this is the matchup where the pass defense or the pass offense can go crazy. But if Kentucky overcompensates and just really, really concentrates on stopping that run, I mean, there may be some opportunities there for that passing attack. All right, Jay Lee. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, man.
Great job on the podcast.
Thanks.
You talked about Kentucky's weakness on defense being the secondary, and I think all Gator fans are ready to see AR blow the top off. But who would he throw to? I know Xavier's more of a screen guy. Pearsall's more of a slot. Do we have anybody at wideout that could outrun this defense and take some deep shots?
I do think Pearsall can still be used. I mean, that play last week in the seam where he caught that was a 3rd and 15, and that went for a first down for Florida. I think that seam route, if Kentucky's going to stay in that cover 3 a bit, the seams can be open. So I do. Maybe we see the seams with Pearsall, and maybe even the tight end go down the seam as well. I think the tight ends maybe underneath at the same time. If they're going to play that cover 3 and Florida runs some receivers deep, can the tight ends underneath open up a bit? Kind of maybe what we saw in the spring game with those run to the sideline, some of the drag routes, find an open spot in the zone, and hopefully off to the races there as well. So. Taking the top off might be pretty difficult if Kentucky wants to stay in that cover 3 the entire game. So, not necessarily sure where Florida might have to get the run game going early once again to maybe open up open up those deep shots. But I think really Kentucky's really going to be trying to stop that big play. They don't know with those questions in the secondary if they can just man up and go against the Gator receivers. But we got to see these Gators receivers also at the same time. If a team wants to do that, they need to prove that they can go beat them. And so I still think Pearsall is one of the guys you watch out for. Overall, pretty fast, speedy player. I'm not sure he's a take the top off guy, but he's labeled as one of the fastest guys on the team, and he can play outside if need be. I'd like to see if Florida moves him around a little bit, mostly a slot guy, but see if they move him around a little bit. Arizona State moved him around a bit too, but also knowing that knowledge that he is one of the fastest players on the team, maybe find some creative ways to use him. But yeah, I'm like you. I still think Henderson. I mean, it is kind of crazy. It's supposed to be a fast player on the team as well. Doesn't play fast is what it looks like. Is he take a top off guy? I'm not so sure Shorter is consistently. So that's probably one question, at least through one game. We'll get more of an answer there as the season goes on. But how long will it take to identify if Florida has that guy? And maybe this game is it. But I'm like you. There's probably still a big question on wide receiver that we had coming into the season, even after one game, it's still very early. That's still one question that we have about this receiver core. Is there that guy that can take the top off? And I'd like to say there is, but that's probably something we still really have to see. All right, Dave Street. Hey, man. Dave?
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Just driving to work this morning on a slightly rainy day here in Tampa, Florida. So you may have already talked about this before, but just what do you AJ Weaver's comments about Anthony Richardson, saying that Richardson won't be able to do anything? And keep in mind, this is the same man who said that Kyle Pitts has never had JJ Weaver on him. And so clearly, he never learned his lesson. And look, I get it. You have to show confidence. And so I don't blame him for that. But at the same time, why the hell would you ever provide that kind of bulletin board material?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we already know Richardson probably has a personal drive, I guess, in a way, because we go back and look at when Florida opened up those new locker rooms in the new facility. There was a picture of showing Anthony Richardson's locker, and there was the image of somebody's list of, I believe it was top 5 SEC quarterbacks, and Anthony Richardson was not on that list. So probably, something that as a reminder, as a personal drive, okay, this is what somebody thinks. And so there's that. And then you go to Weaver's comments, and as you mentioned a couple years ago, the whole Kyle Pitts thing, and Pitts cradling, doing the rockabye baby in the end zone after after a score. But Weaver's a good player in his own right, but I mean, I guess I probably expect him to think that. Do you come out and say it? That's a whole different animal. But Weaver, a lot of experience the last couple of years. Let's see. I had some stats on him that I had in the podcast. 34 tackles. He had 10 tackles for loss last year, and he led the team in sacks for Kentucky. So you can kind of see where the confidence from him is coming there. But that's right. That's just one everybody's going to identify that it's going to get blown up going into this game. And look, there's no love lost between these teams. There's been a lot of drama going back to 2018, and Kentucky getting the upset and the celebration on the field afterwards, and also trying to hurt Trask in the pile that one year in 19. So these two teams don't like each other, and it's really this. If you want to call it a rivalry, okay. On Kentucky's side, it definitely is. On Florida's side, maybe becoming one, but certainly behind a few other teams there. But the drama in this game has not lacked, and looks like Weaver's going to continue that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I guess we'll just have to see how Saturday goes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're still early enough in the seasons where it's still asking a lot of questions and wait and see. We're still learning about these teams as the weeks go by.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else want to hop in here? Thanks for so many of you checking it out here. Let's get Nathan in here.
What's up, Dave? Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Got you, man.
All right, perfect. I think this game is important to just program because it's one of those games that we have to reestablish that, hey, last year, Florida was down. That's why Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina are getting all this hype. But it's something Mullen never did was kind of put his foot on the neck of the lesser opponents in the East. And I think Billy needs to – it's something Spurrier and Urban really did. Just show them who runs the East. It's us and Georgia, and everyone else is playing for third and second. So, yep.
Yeah, man. I mean, if that ability is there, then absolutely. You try and establish that. You try and bring that thought back. And look, I think a lot of us in here have definitely thought that. We still know, while it is not Alabama and Georgia talent, and while we critiqued and rightfully so Dan Mullen's recruiting, it's not like it was god awful. It's god awful on a Florida scale, but nationally, it was not god awful. There's still, plenty of talent on this team, still more talent than Tennessee, still more talent than Kentucky, still more talent than most teams in the country, still more talent than most teams in the SEC. And it needs to live up to that. And of course, build up to much higher than that when it's all said and done. But, I think a lot of us were really thinking, all right, last year is what it was. And the wheels fell off in Lexington that one night, was never able to really get back on track. A lot of confidence loss, whether that be in some of the staff towards the players, certainly players toward the staff, and the mindset was not there whatsoever. And we knew that this team was a little bit better than what they were playing. That's part of the reason a coaching change was made. The outlook on the program was another reason the program's changed. And look, if you want to establish that thought, you go out there and play. Look, Kentucky's going to have something to say about this too. If we're looking at this from a Florida perspective, and we all want Florida to go out there and show what they're capable of, and that's going to be tough to do 2 weeks in a row. I believe Florida can do it, and I've already said I picked Florida in my prediction. Of course, if you want the score, you can go listen to the episode. But I feel pretty confident right here with the approach. But yeah, if that ability is there, if the opportunity is there, you go and that does need to be a mindset of this program. Needs to be a mindset of this team to go out there. You've proven nothing yet. I mean, last week was big, and you're not going to take that away from Florida. One thing Florida probably did prove last week in the grand scheme of things is, they're a bit better than what most people thought. But if there's any, of course, the popular phrase for these big programs, so-and-so is back. Well, if you want to claim that, you beat Utah last week, you got to turn around and beat Kentucky this week. And a lot of people are still going to have an eye on Florida. Look, last week was not a fluke. It wasn't. It was still a good win. It's going to be a good win. But we do, for whatever narratives are out there, for whatever confidence this team needs, go out there and get a big victory over Kentucky.
Just got to be Florida.
Be Florida.
Just do what Dan never did and show the other SEC East teams that's like, hey, last year was a fluke. And even under Dan, we should never have to compete consistently with South Carolina and Kentucky and schools like that. It's just, I don't know. Under Dan, it just felt like, recruiting was whatever, but we just couldn't put our foot on the throat of those people and just kind of push them to the side. Kirby runs it up, and that's just if we want to get there, we gotta demoralize, I guess you say, those other schools.
Yeah, but I guess in a way, put them in their place. As I said, if Florida's Florida, you're not losing to Kentucky 2 times out of 4 years. You're just not. And is that too cocky? Is that too arrogant? Maybe, possibly. But at the same time, I did put the disclaimer. If Florida is Florida, that's the way it should be run.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, man. Look through in here. See Seth Varnador. Seth, if you can pop in or want to pop in, enjoy your work, man. If there's anything you want the fan base to see, a lot more schematically driven than I am. Seth does really good work there as far as, more on the field from a coach's perspective, scheme-wise and stuff. If you haven't checked out his work there, Alligator Army, his YouTube channel as well. Seth does great work there. So glad he's hopping in here to give a listen. He has an opportunity to pop in here. Hopefully he can do so. But some good work there from those side of things. And man, I mean, there's some matchups here. I'm eager to see Florida's offensive line versus that Kentucky front. I mean, that is certainly, as far as Florida's offense, taken away just from skill player and maybe just how special AR is, maybe even more special, or how more special he can be would be based on if he's able to have the time to do so. And even last week he may not need a whole lot of time in certain aspects. Could make something happen anyway. All right, it's like Parker was back in. Let's see. Hey, Parker. All right, let's see.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
Sorry about that. One thing that obviously we didn't get to see too much of last week was, our DB play. I mean, obviously, there wasn't. So I think, I don't know if we're downplaying the softness of how Kentucky looked last week versus Miami of Ohio. Only 50 yards rushing is pretty abysmal regardless. But, are we really about to see these matchups with these corners this week with Will Levis? Or do you think last week was a fluke with Kentucky?
So they got Tavion Robinson, and that's something I brought up in the podcast is how he's not the same type of receiver as Wan'Dale Robinson. So that's going to be a matchup there for Kentucky, of course, to watch. I do think they are going to throw to the receivers more. So they don't have tight ends like Utah has. They'll try and maybe insert that because of some success Utah had last week, but they don't have those guys. They'll rely more on the receivers. I'm eager to see Jason Marshall probably a little bit more this week. I mean, as you said, the whole cornerbacks group as a whole, absolutely. We'll see it a bit more, especially another reason because of Kentucky's run issues last week, offensive line issues, and the running back depth. So even more, I think, will be on Will Levis's arms there. Maybe even more can speak on that. I do have Seth is in here now. So, Seth, you want to speak on that a bit? If you can. You might be on mute if you need to unmute your microphone, but...
Hey, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, got you loud and clear.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the last part. It kind of cuts off when you're when you turn the mic.
Yeah, just of course, we didn't get to see Florida's DBs last week because of what Utah was bringing to the table. But Will Levis, of course, probably more on his shoulders. Running back depth an issue for Kentucky. Offensive line issues last week as well. And maybe trying to get Tavion Robinson involved more a bit at the receiver position for Kentucky.
I just wanted to jump in real quick, just running some errands right now. But I think that you're going to see, I would imagine you see some more quarterback run game from Kentucky this week. That's something they had some success with last year towards the end of the year, and you didn't see any of it. It sounds like they may have been holding that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll use that to try to goose the run game a little bit. And I think you're going to see a ton of screen to try to slow down Florida's pass rush, because you saw Miami of Ohio. They had 4 sacks, but they got in the backfield a lot last week. Even on throws where Levis made some pretty good throws with pressure right in his face. So I'd anticipate Florida being able to get to him quite a bit. And my what I'm kind of looking to see is if Florida can kind of shut down the run game, get them into kind of a one-dimensional game where they're in a lot of throwing situations, is Patrick Toney going to dial up a bunch of exotic pressures that are safe and kind of get Levis to throw him a couple, because Levis does like throwing interceptions. He threw about 1 a game last year.
Right, yeah, he had 13 last year.
Yeah, so I think if you can pressure him and do it in a safe manner, which Toney, that's kind of one of his specialties with the simulated pressures and creepers and that kind of stuff. I think if you can get them one-dimensional, he can really do a lot of different things, give Levis a bunch of exotic looks, and you might be able to kind of get him to throw you a couple. So I'm stopping that run game, and I think the quarterback run game is going to be key. And then if you can get to him and put some pressure on him, he makes some wow plays, but he still has trouble with ball placement. Even in the game last week where he's hitting guys and he's getting completions, he's throwing it to their back hip and not the front hip. I think Florida's DBs will be able to break those up where Miami of Ohio's couldn't. And they'll be in that back hip pocket and might be able to get a couple there too. So you have the opportunity, I think, defensively to have a pretty good game on the back end if you can get that pressure on him.
Yeah, I kind of previewed that in the same way too. With the run game struggles, I do think there is an opportunity for some third and passing situations, and you hope to see because with what Utah was doing, there wasn't many chances to see the simulated pressures and creepers, especially in the second half.
and Rising is really smart.
Yeah,
and he's one of those guys where when you send stuff at him, he knows where to go with the ball pretty quickly. I don't think Levis is quite there. It doesn't seem like it. And their offense isn't quite the same, but they do some similar things. But to me, like if I had to win a game tomorrow, I would take Rising over Levis. If I had to win a game in 5 years, it may change. But I think Rising's a really good quarterback, going to be one of the better ones Florida sees all year.
Yeah, I was on I believe, Will and Nick's podcast. We going into the first week of the season, we were ranking kind of SEC quarterbacks, and I was like, it looks good right now. I said, okay, Stetson, I'd probably put Stetson first, and then that looks good after week 1. And I put Cam Rising second, based on college quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at NFL. I'm just like, what Florida's going to face in 2022. I had Cam Rising up there. There's a lot of respect there. And as you said, Levis, I do think will run. He's not as slippery, not as shifty, but he is an athletic runner.
Yeah, he'll and I think they'll use him in design runs, and then you'd think they'd use him they'd have some element of a read game, so that's one less guy you got to block if you're struggling blocking, read them, right? If you can't block them, read them. Yeah. So I think you'll see some more of that from them than you saw the first week. I heard somewhere their offensive coordinator kind of alluded to that as well, that, hey, we have some quarterback run game stuff that we did not run this week. So that I would imagine if the game gets tight, they start leaning on that a little bit.
So I guess one player we need to be identifying is seeing what Brenton Cox does.
Yeah. To me, this is another great test of kind of culture on both sides of the ball, because defensively, I think Kentucky, what they did last year to Florida is they kind of sat back and let Florida self-destruct.
Yeah.
And we're just happy to get you in 3rd and longs, and now we're going to make you throw the ball short of the sticks, rally and tackle. And I think it'll be pretty similar. Stoops likes a lot more zone than man. And if he can get you in 3rd and longs, and
right.
All right, yeah, we're going to drop back deep. But Utah had I thought Utah had a similar plan last week, but Florida was able to run the ball on them effectively and get into a lot of 3rd and short. I think Florida's average 3rd down last week was just a hair under 6 yards, and on the other side of the ball, Utah was about at 5 yards. So both teams were getting in 3rd and manageable. I think that's the key again this week. Can you stay disciplined? Can you stay patient and just slowly, methodically drive the ball down the field? If you can, I think you can have success. I mean, as bad as Florida played last year, they were in it till the end of the game with all those penalties and everything. I think if you play clean, that's Kentucky's just going to make you play clean to beat them. Florida played relatively clean last week, but they're going to have to repeat it. So that's it's an early culture test on both sides of the ball. You have to play disciplined. You have to play clean. If you do that, I think you should win the game, but it's going to test you a little bit.
I hear you. Yeah, you're right. Florida was 3rd down, average to go 5.8. Yeah, almost 6 yards. So,
yeah.
So average about 3rd and 6.
Yeah, and then when you've got a coach that's willing to go for it on 4th down,
yeah,
that makes it even more manageable. So Florida, I mean, they were unbelievable on 3rd down last week, and then I think they were 7 of 12 or something like that, and then they went 2 of 2 on 4th down. So you're extending, you're basically 9 of those 12 drives are being extended. So that's pretty good.
Hey, look, analytics speak way too much about 4th downs and how much success you can still have there.
Yeah. Well, however you can extend a drive and keep the ball. That's a good thing. Convert them on 3rd downs. You don't got to convert 4th down.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
hey, Seth, man, thanks for hopping in, man.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one.
You too, man. Parker, I hope that gave you some more.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And another thing I'm thinking about, too, is I don't know how you feel about this, but, does this week open up, more opportunities for guys like Devin Moore, who showed a little bit of physicality last week on screen plays. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I guess
what a big tackle by him on that last drive.
Exactly. So it's exciting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Let's see, BS Loney in here now. There we go. I don't hear you, but I do see your mic is off, so I'm not sure what the issue is there. Get Bad Boy Pierre in here, and then William, I'll come to you.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
I just want to see some smash mouth football again.
Man, I think you're going to, man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the last couple of years have been different. Good games, obviously, but Dan Mullen, was never. Obviously, always loved Kentucky, so I feel like it took a little easy on him. I'm ready to see these guys just go out there and just hit somebody. I want to see some good football, some real SEC football. None of this Dan Mullen stuff where it was just, just high school play calling.
You know what? That's probably something I was really impressed with game one. Florida was ready and able to come out and play that way game one under Billy Napier. And was it perfect? No. But you could tell strides were already made in that area to be a more physical team, to take on a physical team and have success at the same time.
Right, agree. As much as Dan Mullen was hyped up to be an offensive guru, to see what Napier did and literally the short time he's been there, with just the way the linemen, crash down, the way they run block, and
Kingsley's pancake block on AR's 45-yard scamper was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, there's some good things happened early on versus a veteran Utah team that was built like an SEC team. For what it seemed like, maybe outside of the defense, but their offense was they seemed pretty big.
Yeah, that's just their style of play. They're gonna bring it to you for sure. I was happy to see the approach. I mean, we knew it was gonna be physical, and I was glad to see physical. When Florida had to clamp down in the red zone, they were able to man up, get the numbers right, and go man on man in short yardage situations there and hold Utah. So you glad you stood up there and, as you said, on offense at the same time. So I think as far as the first test of physicality goes, that was a good early test and a good early pass.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I'll see you guys there Saturday. I'm flying from Ohio.
Sounds good. You
guys down there, go Gators.
Go Gators. B.S. Loney, I'm not sure what's going on, man. I can't hear. I see your microphone's still there, but maybe leave and come back in or something like that. I'm not sure what the issue is. All right, William, what's up, man?
Hey, David, what's happening?
Not much. You ready for Saturday?
Yes, sir. Gonna be there. Loud and proud,
Oh, yeah, there we go.
All right.
Oh, one thing, while you said that, Saturday is looking like it's supposed to rain all day long. So hopefully that's not the case. Well, we can enjoy some tailgating. But
yeah.
That does look like it's rain is in the forecast. Some big system out of the Gulf just moving across the state of Florida. So doesn't look pretty right now, but we know how Florida weather goes. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Let's see. One question I want to ask is, what are your thoughts on this defense? Because I was on a cruise last week.
Yep.
And I wasn't able to watch. I was able to track it. I saw some of the highlights. We looked pretty solid, but is this defense a lot different than it was last year under Todd Grantham?
We're going to continue to get our answer with that. I mean, I think so. I mean, the defense itself, even the players have said, look, it's not that much different. It's just the way it's taught, when to use certain parts of it. There's a lot that goes. As far as if you want to start just looking on the field, I mean, a lot of the same players we saw last year still out there. Like they're not playing the same spots, and how they're going to be used will be a bit different. And I want to see. They didn't show a whole lot last week. They didn't change a whole lot last week. As far as, when Utah made their changes for the second half. So, they did a much better job in the first half before Utah got all jumbo set in the second half. So that's where a lot of the Utah yards came from. Florida necessarily didn't adjust numbers-wise. So that's where you saw a lot of that domination from Utah come from. It's still, for me, I hate to fall back on it. I still hate to see it. It's still more of a wait and see approach of what, as the weeks go on, the more they can implement, the more they can build on the week before, the more they can build on practice after practice after practice, and they can just kind of continue to stack up what they've learned and what they can apply. It's still more of a wait and see. But as Seth said earlier, we'll see how Kentucky comes and attacks this defense, and if they what the opponent will do will give us a lot more indication as well. If Kentucky is going to try and come out and throw the ball 40 times, if Florida stops that run game, it's going to look a little bit different. Yeah.
One more thing. Did you see that Kentucky linebacker made that comment about AR the other day?
Yeah, we discussed that a few minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Yep. I just hopped on late.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. Okay. This is kind of a little personal, David. So where do you guys usually tailgate at?
Out Harmonic Woods, out Museum Road. So Museum out close to Fraternity Row, Lake Alice, that area. So
Museum Road near Fraternity Road.
Yeah, southwest of the stadium.
Okay, cool. All right, David. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Let's get after it today. Hope to guys see you guys in the swamp on Saturday. Go Gators.
All right, man. Go Gators. All right, let's see if. There we go, Lonnie. I think I got you now.
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So, yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Two things. First, to comment. When you really look back at the Mullen era, especially with regards to Kentucky, if Franks doesn't break his ankle in 2019, Mullen is 1-3 versus the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yep.
Isn't that the most unbelievable thing? The team that you beat 30 straight years. So I'm looking for to lay the smack down on Saturday. I hope we really give it to them with AR. And the question is, do you think that we will see more downfield passing this week? Because that's the one part of the game that I didn't really get to see last week. There was like a couple 20-yard passes, I feel like, but no real deep shots.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about that a little bit earlier too. No, you're good. You're good. I mean, Kentucky's going to play it safe. That's just kind of their style. They like to keep everything in front of them. Do you have a guy that can take the top off? If they're going to continue to, maybe play off and give a lot of underneath, and us knowing how much Billy Napier likes to run the ball and can run the ball, we may not see it, and it may not be, and it may not. We may come back next week and say and ask the same question: can we? And I think it's going to be more of a question: can we? Because we still haven't had to.
Yeah.
And just Napier's style, he's not going to force anything if it's not there. Now, going back to his time at Louisiana, he did show once the run game gets going, he's going to go play action and take the deep shots. So if the run game is there, gets going early.
Folk?
Oh, sorry.
I'm looking forward to a good game on Saturday. I actually flew down from New York for the game versus Utah last week.
Nice.
That was one of the best games I ever went to. So go Gators, and I'll hang up and listen.
All right, man. Thank you. All right, let's see. What's up, Dave?
What's up, man? I had one question for you. Pretty sure it's already been asked because I got in here kind of late. What do you think about Lingard being on the depth chart now? And Trevor Etienne, man, last week, rushed 12 yards per attempt there. Did pretty well. Also, some of the young guys, see Napier's not afraid to use the young guys. And another stat I actually looked up just recently last night, Will Levis, he likes to throw the ball pretty short.
Yep.
When he has to go past the 20-yard line, looked at it, was 13 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. His completion range was about around 40 or 50%. I think personally, if we can contain the run game, which it looks like we'll probably be able to do, get some pressure, I really don't see Florida having that much trouble in the backfield, but I just want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I did kind of speak on Florida's attack on offense. I like the matchup. I just think, and I know it's only one game, and this is still kind of a wait and see approach, but I love the potential of AR, and I like the mismatch problems that he can bring. If you want to concentrate on stopping the Florida running backs, he's going to go crazy. If you want to start concentrating on trying to stop him, then I think the offensive line and the running backs can take over. So I know that's just a lot based off of one game. That's just kind of the way I'm viewing it right now. Of course, absolutely that can change. We do only have a one-game sample size, but given Billy Napier's history, given what we saw versus Utah and their defense, their sound defense, I like early on being able to say that. And we'll see. Kentucky will have something to say about that as well. Going to the depth chart a bit, Lingard now being listed. I don't know if I don't think that's some reaction to everybody's reaction last week to the Lingard news. There, I think we saw why the depth chart was the way it was last week. I've kind of and I alluded to this in the game review episode, I believe. And you learn a lot about taking secondhand information of practice reports and how much you can trust it. Well, there was one note and nugget that we were hearing about the last 2 weeks of fall camp, and that was, hey, freshman running back Trevor Etienne is making moves, doing nice things in practice. Then the depth chart comes out. He started on the depth chart. Then the game review versus Utah comes in, and he comes in and does some great things at the running back position. So there was one little nugget and note from fall camp that came to fruition. And him being listed as third on the depth chart, I think definitely held some validity there. Now we see this week, Lingard listed fourth on the depth chart. Does that mean he actually gets more playing time at the running back position? Is it the same as last week? Is it just in name only he's on there? Does the game plan factor in somehow, some way? We'll see. Does that mean we'll actually see him? He was there on the kneel down, I believe, versus Utah. Didn't get any carries last week for the running back spot. I believe he played some special teams as well. But now him actually being listed, does that translate to getting on the field? And look, we saw Etienne. Yeah, he might have been the third running back listed, but we saw him early in the game. So I think we'll get a good indication if Lingard is on the depth chart, maybe even listed as fourth. Do we see kind of what we saw last week and him still get in the game early like Etienne did? But yeah, very interesting that he is now listed on the depth chart.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as he's playing the best players, man, that's all I care about. So, you're getting 12 yards per carry. I would love to see you on the field a lot more. So, all right, Dave. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. All right, let's see here. Bringing Larrick in here. What's up, Larrick? I'm going to have to unmute your mic. And looks like there might be some issues with spaces. Larrick, I don't hear you. You may have to drop back in, and it might work. We had that happened to another user before. Let's bring Rasheem in here. Hey, Rasheem, you there?
I am, man. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good, man. Yeah, man. I watched the game last week, man. So I have a question, man. How soon do you think Florida's offense can be averaging like plus 100 yards from our running backs, and then also like 200 plus yards from Anthony Richardson? I saw a glimpse. I know they have a lot of stuff to work out. That's normal week one. But, with Anthony Richardson, having no technically passing touchdowns, but having, how many passing yards did he have this past Saturday?
He had 168.
168. So there's proof there that they can throw the ball. And then another question I have to ask is, how special do you think the connection between Anthony Richardson and Parcel will be by the end of the season?
I think that connection there with Richardson and Pearsall was pretty good first game. As I said, all 4 catches to Pearsall went for first downs. The 3rd and 15 was a great route run by him. Had to adjust his route a little bit as the safety come over and had to find a way to find a little open spot, and Richardson just zings it in there. I think that connection will only get better. I think it's at a good spot already. It will only improve as we go on. As far as stats go, and I said kind of this a little earlier. That last drive where Florida had to score, but you had to eat clock at the same time. That does skew the stats. It's just one drive, but does skew it a bit. It does skew it a little bit. Richardson has that 45-yard run as well. If that's a drive where Florida has to just march down the field, then maybe Montreal Johnson hits the 100-yard mark as a running back there. So, if you're gonna Not so worried about single running backs probably getting to that 100-yard mark. It's more about what the team does as a rush. I mean, Richardson 9.6 yards, Montreal 6.3, ETN 12.8. I mean, you're not. I don't care if you hit the 100-yard mark. You start having three guys, averaging, 2 with Richardson at 9.6, ETN at 12.8. You got one at 10 yards and one over 10 yards. Montreal with 6.3. If his style of play, if he's averaging 6.3 yards a carry, you're going to win a lot of football games. So it's I'll probably look, instead of more total yards, I'll be looking at the average and just how physical you can be by using. We did ask ourselves this question as far as the running backs go. Would there be a workhorse? Would there be a plan to use more than one back? And we saw a good rotation there, and most teams do. You don't see a lot of workhorse running backs anymore. That's just the way football's going now. But Montreal with 12 carries, Naquan had 10 carries. Naquan, started off better than he finished the game. He looked pretty good the first drive, but did end up with just 39 yards on 10 carries. I still think he can do some nice things. So, especially out of the backfield as a pass catcher at the same time. But 12 carries for Johnson, 5 for ETN, 10 for Wright, 10 for Richardson. Of course, Richardson, some of his coming off of pass plays at the same time. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna, with the quarterback, you're gonna be splitting carries a good bit in this offense.
For sure. And then last question, man. Personally, do you think that Trevor will leave college better than his brother did, Travis? I grew up with Clemson, and I literally witnessed this every week during college football season. Travis was really talented, but I don't think Travis was this developed this early either. Now, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, really good start by Trevor Etienne. I will admit I did not see this coming. Even going and based off of high school film and trying to apply that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a scout or anything. I don't claim to be at all. But really good first impression, and would probably lend you to say, okay, well, he's further along than his brother. I don't know, man. Travis was special by the time he left Clemson. That was a really good football player, really versatile back, really strong back. Could stay on his feet with the best of them. I mean, he could shed a tackle. If guys didn't wrap up, he was going to make them pay by staying on his feet. A really good weapon out of the backfield at the same time. Really just good all around back. And I loved when the Jags picked him up as well as a draft pick. There's one thing. Could the Jags have used another draft pick besides a running back? Maybe, but I like that ability there. So I still think it was a good pick there, and we'll see what he does in the NFL. So I don't know. I mean, I think we could probably get ahead of ourselves a little bit, but certainly off to a better start.
Awesome, man. Well, that's all the questions I have for you, man. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, man. All right, couple more here, and then we will call it Lyric. I'll see if we working this time. What about now, Lyric?
Hey, man. How you doing, Dave?
Good, man. Got you this time.
Good. So I want just on the I was thinking about this over the last couple of days. The 2020 defense compared to this now. I know we were hurting inside that defensive line, defensive tackle. Kyrie was out and everything. So the 2020 defense was awful. We all know that, but they made key stops. I know they had some, Zach Carter. We had Slayton, but just trying to make that comparison to this team defense or whatever. Do you think it's good enough to amount to the same production of 2020? I know we had studs on the offensive side of the ball, but I mean,
I hope we're much better on the back end. I mean, there was way too many big plays in 2020. Okay against the run. You had Jervon Dexter, of course, playing as a true freshman there, but it was the big passing plays that really ate that defense alive. So You were getting to the quarterback. Todd Grantham, there wasn't really an issue of getting to the quarterback and getting sacks, but it didn't necessarily translate to really forcing a whole bunch of turnovers or really keeping teams from converting third downs or converting teams or making teams convert some big plays. I hope it's much better in that regard as far as on the back end and giving up some big plays. And I think it is. I'm pretty sure.
I agree. I agree. So what I'm saying is, like, I'm looking at the just total big picture. I think we can make a run. Like, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I mean, if the offense, AR play ball control and and help and play complementary football and help the defense out. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't
disagree. I don't disagree. I mean, maybe this was too far down. I mean, I had Florida 9-3, second in the East, and I'll admit when I said 9-3, if something was to go either way, I said probably closer to 8-4 than 10-2. But now after playing Utah, if I still go 9-3, now I'm probably closer to 10-2 than 8-4 if it goes another way.
Right, I agree. So, I know, man. I just
look, there's a good reason to be excited. I mean, I won't say everybody, but most people out there had Florida losing this game, and a lot of people out there had Florida starting 0-2. And there's a really good chance to start 2-0. So, I mean, there's good reason to be excited. There's don't let anybody take the excitement away.
I'm not. Ain't nobody going steal my joy. So I don't know, man. I'm looking ahead at that game in Jacksonvile, and I know they look good, but I mean that was Bo Nix, bro, and I think the defense is they got playmakers back down the back end of Georgia, but I think we can run the ball with them and run the ball on them, play complementary football. So I mean it's one game at a time. So, but call me crazy, man. But that one game, just seeing Utah and seeing everything, just continue to play. We got to get better week to week, but at the same time, I just feel like we got a shot, man. We do.
I hear you, man. Yeah, great start. Yeah, I'm ready to see him get better week after week as well.
Right. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man. All right, couple more, and then we'll call it Todd and Vin. Let me get Todd in here, and he was first, and then I'll come back to Vinny. Todd, you there?
Hello.
Yep.
There it is. How are you, Dave?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm good. Just want to touch on the defense again. Watching this last week compared to every year under Todd Grantham defenses. And someone asked if we're looking at the same defense. I know you see some of the personnel-wise, some of the same faces. But if you watch pre-snap on defense, you don't see a lot of confusion and a lot of hands in there looking back.
Yeah, there was a small part of that when Utah, as I said, maybe surprised a bit going up tempo because they don't do it a whole lot. But yeah, overall, absolutely much better.
Yes, I was. I love offense and excitement, but I'm a big defensive guy and love watching our defense fly around and be prepared and
we'll see. Yeah, and we'll see what Coach means by he didn't seem too happy about gap control and gap integrity and all that stuff too. So, but those things are at least those things are correctable.
Right, we're looking at week one.
Yeah,
I'm just in sheer preparedness pre-snap, not looking confused, and we had a lot of true freshmen playing.
Yeah,
so looking at that compared to 3 years of not knowing what's going on before the snap, I was excited to see that. Even with what you're saying about gap control and all that, but I'm excited about it because it's up from here. I feel like after week one, but we'll see. Time will tell. But was excited about that, and go Gators, man.
Go Gators! Yeah, Ready to see the growth too, man.
All right, bud.
See ya. Thanks for hopping in.
Yep.
All right, last one, and Vinny here, and then I'll have to call it a day. You there, Vinny? Might have to unmute your mic.
Morning, David.
Morning, man.
I wanted to ask, why is it so much hype around Kentucky though? It's like last year they beat us, but really we beat ourselves against them with the penalties and the field goals and stuff like that. Because he only threw for 87 yards against us. So why is there so much hype about them beating us this year?
Man, if you've listened to me and if you've been on Twitter and all that, yes, I completely agree. I picked Kentucky 4th in the East. I'm not high on them. I think Wan'Dale Robinson was a lot of Will Levis's success, and I'll go more in detail about that. Now, don't get me wrong. You got a weapon like that, you absolutely use them. I will give Kentucky credit there. They identified a weapon and they got the ball to him, and he was the difference maker last year in the game for Kentucky's offense. But at the same time, that still leaves the question, what can Will Levis do without him? And Tavion Robinson's a good wide receiver, transfer from Virginia Tech. We'll see him this week. He'll do some nice things, but I don't think he's Wan'Dale Robinson. He's not the same type of receiver as Wan'Dale Robinson. There's a reason Wan'Dale Robinson was a pretty high draft pick. So I think there was probably there was a lot of assumption there with Kentucky. They lost some big pieces on the offensive line. I still think there was a lot of questions on Will Levis. I think a lot of his draft stock really rose Kentucky to a level. And look, honestly, a lot of it has to do with Florida too. A lot of people weren't high on Florida, so it's like, all right, well, who's next? And Kentucky, rightfully probably so, was going to come up because of their recent success. I know Chris Doering had them 11-1. I just didn't see it. They do have an easier, quote unquote, easier SEC schedule there. But I'm just, it's still more wait and see and prove it for me for Will Levis without Wan'Dale Robinson. Christopher Rodriguez, we knew about his potential to not play in this game for a few months now. Losing Wan'Dale Robinson, losing the offensive playmakers, losing Josh Paschal on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, there were too many questions for me to be that high on them. Are they going to be a good program? Yeah, Mark Stoops has them at that level. I don't think they're a consistent double-digit win team year in and year out. And I do think Florida was a bit, I said this last week, even in comparison to Utah, a bit overlooked while hyping up a team like Kentucky and maybe even Tennessee. So, we'll see that in a couple of weeks. But I'm with you, man. I get trying to identify another team besides Florida because of all the questions Florida had. But I do think at the same time that went too far in trying to identify Kentucky as that team. I think people were just really looking at only the good there and really wouldn't raise the same questions about Kentucky as they had some other programs out there. And look, they could absolutely prove us wrong. They could go out there and beat Florida Saturday and we'd be like, okay, well, I wasn't that high on Kentucky last year. But as you said, specifically for the Florida game, that was an ugly game by Florida. Florida had still a chance to win that game late, even after how ugly it was. But through the rest of the season, Kentucky still went on to play pretty good football and go win double-digit games. But so they did prove me wrong a bit. Still a game Florida could have, should have, would have won in some ways. But once again, I'm not that high on Kentucky this year.
Yeah, I feel like they overrated.
Yep, we'll get our answer Saturday night for sure. I mean, as I said, it was gonna be tough for Florida to go 2-0, but I think there's a great chance to do it.
Yeah, I definitely think we pull it up. All right, man. You enjoy the rest of your day, man. I just wanted somebody else's insight on it. Yeah, because I really am puzzled by that.
Yeah, and this isn't, and like I said, this isn't anything new for me. I've been saying it for a few months. You can go back to SEC Media Days and my episode there, and I show you where I picked Kentucky 4th. This isn't just because Florida played good against Utah and Kentucky didn't look great against Miami of Ohio. This had nothing to do with that. I have felt this way about this game for a few months now. All right, that'll do it for this.
All right, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks, Vinny.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, man. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hopping in this Twitter Spaces right here on Gators Breakdown. Enjoy having the conversation with you. I'm going to do it again on the Gators Breakdown Plus side today. I'm going to do our Q&A episode a little bit different this week, where kind of similar form and fashion to this, talking to Gators Breakdown Plus members on the Discord there. So extra episode continuing the conversation on the Gators Breakdown Plus side. So everybody, thank you so much for hopping in on this Twitter Spaces, and I'll catch you on the next one.